Welcome in, everybody. It's your host, Christopher Renne here. It's the Chris Renne Show, episode 28. We're 28 of these bad boys deep. We're almost a year into podcasting. It's been a good ride. Had a lot of fun doing it. Had a lot of fun starting it up last year. To think I've stayed with it, it's been a lot of fun. I'm finally getting into my rhythm, and I think I'm starting to get pretty good at it. Okay, so let's start off with what I did this past weekend. Man, it was wild. If you guys don't know, it was rivalry weekend in college football. And if you also don't know, I am an Ohio State student. So for that, it means we are playing the University of Michigan. If you didn't go to a football school, I feel sorry for you because these are the weekends you live for. Whether it's going to USC and playing Notre Dame, whether it's going to Alabama and playing Auburn, whether it's LSU, Georgia, whatever it may be, these are the reasons you go to a football school. Florida State. It's a lot of fun. You go to show you chose the right school. You chose the better school. You got into the better school. And your school is more important than their school. I will say this. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. So my weekend started Thursday, obviously like most with Thanksgiving. Visited my grandparents. My brother came into town. We had a nice dinner with a bunch of family, as most people do in the United States. Then Friday came around. We got into Columbus, stayed at my apartment. Got in about 6 p.m., waited around, rested a little bit, went out the night before. Bold move, right? Absolutely, because guess when we started tailgating the following day? 6 a.m. It was raining, it was cold, but it was well needed to start that early. We picked up some beers, we picked up some White Claws, and we got ready to roll. The tailgate was exceptional. I could have went to college game day, but couldn't have been drinking there. Had a lot of fun leading up to it. A lot of people came to our house, and it was a party from about 7:30, 8 in the morning till we left for game time. It was a very long 5-hour tailgate for some of us. I'll talk about the game more in detail once I get to my college football section, but until then, I'm going to keep going through the weekend. So the game goes, we have a lot of fun there. The game's emotional roller coaster. It's Ohio State, Michigan, electric, all that. Tried storming the field. I gave up. My brother did not. Whatever. I stormed the field against Penn State. I've set foot on the grass. It's cool. I got a picture of the storming. I got to be part of a crowd that was doing Mo Bamba by Shaq West. My weekend was made. It was cool. So after that, come home, take a nap, 2-hour nap. Thought I was going to miss the party I was supposed to go to later. It was a post-game kegger. A lot of fun. My friend threw it. We had a good time. I had to leave a little earlier than I would have liked to. But I had to be up early the next day because Browns Bengals, baby. So I woke up at 7 the next day to leave at 9. And we drove down to the Nasty Natty, Cincinnati. It was a beautiful time. It's a wonderful place. There's a lot of really cool bridges going across the Ohio River. Took some pictures. Enjoyed the game. Saw Baker Mayfield give it to his old coach. Saw Demarius Randall hand the ball to him. Was drunk and rambunctious behind a family. And a kid and me got into a verbal altercation for maybe a couple minutes about Andy Dalton's arm strength. But that's a story for a different day. My friends were really happy that I was roasting. I don't think they were embarrassed at all. And the Browns won. We took a ride. I put on the Joe Rogan Experience on the way back. That's what we listened to on the ride back. I fell asleep. My friends seemed to like the show, though, and it was a lot of fun. They talked about sex robots. Yeah, but it was a good weekend altogether. The only problem with it was I had quite a bit of work to do post that whole entire weekend. So there's that. College football. So let's move on to the college football. Hey, let's plug some stuff first. If you haven't, follow the Twitter at mbasementprod. Follow my personal account at Chris_Renne. I post most of the shows to both of those. And then on Instagram, follow mbasementprod. We're starting to become Instagram famous, as well as like us on Facebook. And follow Pints at the Round Table 1 for our other show. All right, so college football, like I said, I'm going to start with the game I was at because I think I have the most formulated opinion of that because I slept through the Alabama-Auburn game for the most part. I saw clips and stuff, but once Alabama scored the second touchdown out of the halftime, I was like, all right, yeah, it's definitely time for a nap. So going into the Ohio State-Michigan game, what was the lasting memory of Ohio State that Saturday? This team cannot play defense, and their offense, although explosive, is quite inconsistent. They had been out-schemed by worser teams and worser opponents throughout the year. Example being Maryland, example being Purdue. Ohio State's played a lot of games that were a lot closer than they should have been. Michigan, playing the best football they've played in the Jim Harbaugh era. So you can see where I'm going with this. And everybody, all the pundits, all the analysts, this is Michigan's year. Urban Meyer's done. He's unhealthy. He can't do this anymore. He can't coach in a big game. You hear it. You know what? Some of my favorites. Colin Cowherd was way out on Ohio State. Big mistake by him. Where Colin was wrong. You're damn right. Clay Travis, the biggest Ohio State Stater I know, completely changed his opinion and now thinks they should be in the playoff. David Portnoy, El Presidente, Barstool, idiot, beta male. That's right, that's because you went to Michigan, you idiots. We could go through it. Mark May, dumb. Desmond Howard, biased. Lee Corso, old. Kirk Herbstreit, probably really thought Chris Fowler, nice. You just roll through it, and not a single person outside. Going into it, I thought it was 41-26 Ohio State. I thought that was going to be the score of the game. Everyone called me crazy. My experiences, I don't know if you guys heard me talk on the show later when Notre Dame beat Michigan. I knew going into Shea Patterson's tenure at Michigan that he was going to struggle in big games. Shea Patterson didn't leave Ole Miss because of the firing of Hugh Freeze. He didn't do it because of that. Shea Patterson was completely disliked at Ole Miss. Shea Patterson was not welcomed at Ole Miss. People didn't like him at Ole Miss. Shea Patterson was a douchebag. His teammates weren't fans of him. He got injured, and they started playing better without him. That's what happened. You look at Michigan quarterbacks through the past. Wilton Spade, Jake Rudock. Those are the two I remember most. John O'Korn. Those are the three I remember most in the Jim Harbaugh era. All pretty talented quarterbacks. They were pretty touted as recruits. Pro style. But there's just something missing with them, and it's the it factor. And when you look at Shea Patterson and what he did at Ole Miss, that's what he was missing. Now, Chad Swag Kelly might not be the smartest or most, I don't know, he's just a wild card, but that dude had the it factor. And that's why he won more than Shea Patterson did at Ole Miss. The quarterback before him at Ole Miss, Bo Wallace. He wasn't great, but he was beloved by his teammates, and his teammates would go to battle for him. And that's why he won. I saw it on the sideline during the Ohio State game, especially when I rewatched it Sunday night while I was doing my homework. Shea Patterson does not carry himself like a quarterback. You can see the difference just by watching his opponent on the other sideline. Dwayne Haskins was always bringing his guys up. It was never his teammates' faults. You never saw him get down when his teammates made a mistake. They dropped it. He was in their face. He was lifting them up. He wasn't bringing them down. And the biggest moment I saw that just showed who Shea Patterson is more than anything is that moment when Shea Patterson, the kick returner for the University of Michigan, caught the ball at the 9-yard line and fell out of bounds. He should have let it roll out of bounds, yes. He should have fair caught it if he was going to catch it, yes. The game makes a player nervous, man. And as the quarterback, you're supposed to be the level-headed one that makes your teammates feel good about the situation. Now, that situation was bad. He shouldn't have done it. But you want to know the difference between Shea Patterson and Dwayne Haskins on Saturday and why Shea Patterson is just another guy, a Jag, and not the next great thing at Michigan? It's because Ohio State had a very similar issue on a kickoff, but Ohio State's might have ended in catastrophe. It did end in catastrophe. Michigan ended up recovering a muffed kickoff and scored the very next play, and it was 19-21. And you could see it when Dwayne Haskins went into the huddle. And I was sitting 29 rows up in Section B. I was pretty high, but you could see it. You could see the way he was. You could see the posture. You can see it. And rewatching the game, you see him go into the huddle, and you see him bring him up. And guess what happens? They march down the field and get the field goal and take some momentum back. Going into half, they got the ball back. They didn't score the first drive. They did score, and then they kept scoring. It was awesome. And that's why. And I think you look at the difference in coaching, and you see Urban Meyer, and it's just an extreme difference. You go look at the box score. Shea Patterson's stats weren't the worst. He was 20 for 34, 187 yards, 3 touchdowns. Not a winning guy, not a winner. Plain and simple. Just because you won 10 games does not make you a winner. That defense has carried him through most of the year, and he's just had to play mistake-free football, which he has. But when the moment shone brightest, Shea Patterson melted. Shea Patterson fell apart. And Shea Patterson wasn't there for his teammates. And that was the biggest difference. Now to the other side of the football. All right, I'm going to put an asterisk here. It's not all Shea Patterson's fault they lost. They seemed to come in very unprepared. They didn't make adjustments at halftime. They did not change anything, and that's where the difference between the game between Ohio State was. I just noticed that with leadership, and I think that was a big reason going in. I thought Ohio State was going to win the game 41-26 because Shea Patterson was going to fold. Now, to his counterpart, Dwayne Haskins, 20 for 31, 396 yards, and 6 touchdown passes. It was an unbelievable day. So going through it, he threw all over them. Absolutely. It was picking them apart, and Ohio State came in with a very effective game plan, knowing that Michigan was an extremely aggressive man-to-man, bring a lot of pressure style team, quite like Ohio State is. They do it a little different. They play off-man, and they do quite a bit of bail techniques, but at the end, it's the same concept. They want to get pressure there, and they want to make quarterbacks uncomfortable in their throws. Well, when you have a lot of crossers and a lot of routes in space and a lot of routes that happen and have meeting points in areas, it really makes and puts pressure on a man coverage defense. How do you combat man coverage? You get protection. The offensive line for Ohio State gave up 0 sacks. Now, anyone going into the game could tell you that the Ohio State offensive line hadn't had many great games. They had been getting better throughout the last 3 or 4 weeks of the season, but they hadn't had many great games. And they played the greatest game the Lions played for Ohio State probably in the last 4 or 5 years. Probably since they played Bama, to be honest. It was almost mistake-free. They didn't give up a sack. Don't think they had a holding. I don't know how many penalties were called on them altogether, but it didn't feel like there were many. In comparison, their counterpart, Michigan's offensive line, had quite a few false starts in crucial moments. And those are the type of small plays that end up changing the games in the grand scheme of things. Even when Michigan got a little pressure, the offensive line held strong enough to where Dwayne Haskins can get out in space, and make something happen a little bit. Ohio State didn't struggle running the ball. They ran for a good 180 yards, I think. I think the Tate Martell package was nice, a nice touch. But I think going with the straight QB power, he's not a very big guy. I think if you're going to do that, I'd rather go with, say, J.K. Dobbins taking a direct snap with Weber there, maybe doing a read option with the two backs. I think that would have been a nice, clever thing to do. I get wanting to get Tate Martell on the field, but I think he's a better runner in space than he is in power. I don't think anyone missed the block. I just don't think the numbers worked on that play. I think doing the counting, they had 7 to the side. I think Ohio State only had 6 to the side blocking. So it was going to be one-on-one with Tate Martell, and the guy who got to him was pretty close to the point of attack at the line of scrimmage for Tate Martell. So it was just kind of a tough play. Yeah, I mean, you go through the game recap. I mean, it was absolutely absurd. I mean, you look at Olave coming out with the first 2 touchdowns. Who would have thought that? And legends are made in rivalries, absolutely. And Chris Olave is a freshman from California. He's representing them California kids, like myself, who come to the Midwest and change everything for everybody. I don't want to see that. I want to see the recap of the game, you son of a gun. Oh, there we go. We'll go to week 13. Just so I get the order right. So the scoring summary, Olave with the 24-yard touchdown to start the game, where they just picked apart the defense. And so Ohio State started with giving up 2 field goals, but you could tell that the defense showed up. It was awesome. It was nice to watch. You could see the energy they played with. You could see the Tough Borland, Malik Harrison. You could see Pete Werner making the plays you've expected them to make all season. And they saved it for a pretty good moment. The icing on the cake in the first half, and when most of me and a lot of the other fans sort of thought it was going to be over, was when Johnny Dixon caught that 31-yard pass from Dwayne Haskins. The next series was a long one for Michigan, and they got saved quite a few times. There was a really bad pass interference by Damon Arnett on a 3rd and long that kept that drive going. Ended up leading to Shea Patterson's touchdown to Nico Collins, which made it 21-13, and then catastrophe struck DeMario McCall with that penalty. And like I said, the difference between Shea Patterson and Dwayne Haskins was apparent in those plays. Ohio State scored a field goal on the first drive of their second half. It was a long drive. It was awesome. Oh, no, they punted, and then they punted right away. And then they scored a field goal. And then it started. The minute Michigan lined up to punt, you knew punting from, I think it was, I want to say like the 15-yard line, the 16-yard line, that Urban Meyer and a guy who loves special teams wanted to bring pressure. A blocked punt in that situation can change the game, and if you miss it, well, you fair catch the ball and you get a good field position, hopefully forcing a bad punt. Well, throughout the week, Wednesday, they installed this special block for Chris Olave, who's a very fast and athletic wide receiver. Well, usually when you're punting, you time 2.1 seconds to get to the block point. That's not a lot of time to get 10 yards, and that's why you have some very explosive players on it. Well, the punter held the ball for 2.3, and this play worked out because of alignment and beating them to the point of attack. The long snapper stepped left to block. The personal protector took the guy to the right in the A gap. So if you look at the line, the A gap is the one right next to the center. And from a defensive standpoint, that's where usually a nose tackle or a defensive tackle lines up in the one. That's what you call a one. That's usually where a one technique is. So he lines up there just enough to where they fake an overload. It's pretty balanced. It's a pretty balanced line. So he goes up. He takes the personal protector to the left of him and to the right of the personal protector. This opens up a lane in the middle, which you get one of your fastest receivers on the team to go through, and it led to a blocked punt. The ball goes straight in the air, lands in Seven Banks' hands, and he returns it 33 yards for a touchdown to make it 34-19. Well, they get the ball back right away. They go 3 and out real quick, Michigan. It's awesome. Mike Weber, 2-yard run. Boom. The Michigan guy from Cass Tech gets in the end zone. Michigan answers, but then Paris Campbell answers right back on a one-play, 78-yard touchdown on a jet sweep, tap down pass, or flip up pass, I guess. Yep, and then, it was well in control. Michigan scored one more time. And then KJ Hill, they put another drive in. Then Paris Campbell caught another touchdown. Like I said, all three of the senior receivers scored. Michigan scored one late, but that was too little too late. It was a very dominant performance, and I think it could have been more dominant if some of those mistakes weren't made. I really do think Ohio State threw themselves in the playoffs. Did they do enough? I'll talk about that. That'll be my last thing with championship picks, but it might not have been. So, on the other side of this rivalry, and due to some close relations to some people who are fans of Michigan, I do want to talk about what does this mean for Michigan. They're definitely out of the playoffs. That'll be 0 playoff appearances with 2 extremely realistic chances to get in there since the Jim Harbaugh era started. They came up short against Ohio State both times. One in an overtime thriller. One this past weekend in annihilation. So, Jim Harbaugh also has 0 Big Ten championship appearances. 4 years, 0 Big Ten championships appearances when Michigan State's won one, Ohio State's won one, Wisconsin's won one. A lot of teams have won one in this conference. The power teams have won it. Michigan hasn't. That's not good for Jim Harbaugh. That's not. So, since 2000, Michigan is 1-15, 1-16 if you count the dropped the year that didn't count. Harbaugh is 0-4, which is bad, where his rival Urban Meyer is now 7-0. The thing is, though, you could just... The type of player Jim Harbaugh wants, the type of player Jim Harbaugh liked at Stanford, the type of player Jim Harbaugh liked in the NFL were grinders. They were a little slower, but they were hard workers. They were a little crazy. And the craziest thing is, the one time Jim Harbaugh had extreme success as an NFL coach is when he went the experimental route with Colin Kaepernick. Everyone says he hasn't been able to find his quarterback. But as a coach, it's your job to develop the quarterbacks. Your OC has a huge responsibility. Your quarterbacks coach has a huge responsibility in that aspect. And that's where Jim Harbaugh's failed the most, is developing a good quarterback. The defenses are great. Should Don Brown's old ass have made some adjustments at halftime? Absolutely. Ohio State had been picking them apart with mesh routes all day. You know what they did in the second half? Continued to motion and get their speed in space. Michigan doesn't have that type of speed. Michigan's an old school Big Ten team. Michigan looks like Ohio State in the end of Jim Tressel's tenure. Slow and can't compete with Southern teams, but still a really, really good competitive football team. Now, the comparison was Mac Brown. He was 0-4 against Oklahoma before he started winning. He found Vince Young, and then he had Colt McCoy. Back-to-back all-time Texas quarterbacks. Well, Jim's got Shea Patterson, and albeit some personality trait issues, still extremely talented and has a great arm and very accurate as a passer, except in big moments. Good enough to win 10 games. Possibly 11 if they win their bowl game. Jim Harbaugh's record against rivals is terrible. But let's think what coaches are out there. Jim Harbaugh, if he gets fired, he'll have another job in 5 minutes. Plain and simple. There's 125 other schools in the country who would love to have Jim Harbaugh as their coach. The only 3 that wouldn't, there's 4 or 5 schools that wouldn't. Plain and simple. Alabama, Ohio State, Oklahoma, Georgia. I just skipped one in the top. And Clemson, Dabo Swinney. Those are the only 5 schools that wouldn't take Harbaugh as their coach right now. Harbaugh offers consistency. Harbaugh offers an identity. And Harbaugh offers stability. Why can't he win big games? I'm not sure. He couldn't win big games when he had Andrew Luck. He won an Orange Bowl, I think, but that was the only big game he won when he had the most touted quarterback prospect for the NFL since John Elway. It's not looking good, but would I fire Jim Harbaugh? Absolutely not. John Cooper got 12 years throughout the 90s. He went 2-10 against Michigan. John Cooper could recruit. He just couldn't win the big game. But I know for a fact, as an Ohio State fan, they weren't bad in the 90s. They just weren't championship level. Without John Cooper, Jet Tressel doesn't win a championship in his second year as a head coach. He doesn't do it. It's a good relationship. You've got a Michigan man at the helm. He's a good football coach. But when you have an all-time great on the other side of the aisle, on the other side of the field, 53.5 yards across from you, a guy who's won 3 national titles, a 92% win percentage, sometimes it's going to be tough, and that's okay. But don't fire him. Michigan fans, don't freak out. Eventually, Urban Meyer will retire. And eventually, Jim Harbaugh will get a win against Ohio State. Both of those 2 things are probably inevitable unless Michigan makes an irrational decision and fires them. Because you're not going to find a coach much better than Jim Harbaugh out there. Going from Michigan, I want to talk to a coach very similar to Jim Harbaugh, Notre Dame. Notre Dame's coach Brian Kelly was in a very similar place. Notre Dame expects a lot, but Notre Dame's an academic power. Michigan's a pretty good academic school, I can't lie. Their law school is one of the best in the country, period. I think it's the best public law school in the country. But that makes it hard to win football games there when you have major academic standards. It's like Stanford. And Notre Dame's very much like Stanford. Notre Dame can't take junior college players. Notre Dame can't take transfer players. Notre Dame has to win from their recruiting classes, and their recruiting classes have to meet academic requirements needed to get into Notre Dame. Well, Brian Kelly built his team very similarly to Michigan, but the difference is Ian Book is a little bit more mobile and a little bit more reliant on his legs, which gives teams a little bit more to prepare for. Can Shea Patterson get out and run a little? Yeah. But when he's playing a defense with the speed of an Ohio State, he can't. Ian Book has shown that he can do that against some ACC defenses, which play with more speed but a little less power. Notre Dame, Brian Kelly made some changes to his personality that made Notre Dame a more likable place. He was sort of headstrong and stuck in his ways, and I think that's a big problem with Harbaugh. And if Harbaugh makes those corrections, he'll have a team that can very much win in the playoffs. He's also going to have to go independent and stop playing Ohio State at the end of the season. But I just wanted to touch on that. Notre Dame's a lock. They beat USC 24-10, 12-0, played a really tough schedule. They're in. Absolutely. If you knock Notre Dame out for some apparent reason, that's absolutely a crime to college football. And a crime to that Notre Dame team who absolutely earned it. Now, I wouldn't mind making them the 4 seed so Ohio State can play Clemson. And then, Notre Dame can play Bama. That'd be cool. My next thing, Bama dominated. Tua probably locked up his Heisman. I told you I napped through that game, so I didn't really watch all of it. But the 3 plays I saw were bombs. One was to Jerry Jeudy. The other was to that really other talented receiver on the other side. He's caught for a ton of yards. Super athlete. The one thing I did notice before I took a nap and I was eating my Donato's pizza. Oh, God, that's how boring and tiring that game was. Was that the defense on Alabama isn't as assertive as it used to be. And I think with the offense Tua Tagovailoa provides, that defense can be a little lazier and get a little more complacent because you know on the other side that your quarterback's going to put up 25, 30, 40 points. Whatever you need, they're going to score it. Do I think Georgia has the juice to beat them? No. I think the biggest trouble when you play Alabama and have a tree in the pocket like Jake Fromm is that you really do need a quarterback that can move to beat an Alabama. Georgia doesn't have that, and you're not going to out Alabama. Their defense is good, but not as good as Bama's. Their offense is good, but not nearly as good as Alabama's. I think Alabama's going to win this game. I think it'll be pretty close. I think Alabama will take off in the second half, like it's been part of course the last couple of weeks. I think it'll be close, like 14-10 throughout the first half. Then Tua is going to make a perfect throw on a post, probably to Jeudy to start the second half. It'll be like a 63-yard touchdown. It's going to blow the game wide open. Alabama will probably take it over, win 36, 38 to, we'll say 17. I don't think there's really a sign for an upset. If Alabama is upset, they still get in the playoffs, and there's no argument between Oklahoma, and there's no argument between Ohio State. Championship weekend picks. Oklahoma won Friday, and it feels like forever ago already. Their defense is terrible, and it's absolutely got no signs of getting better. They're lucky Kyler Murray can outscore anybody. I watched the West Virginia game, and the Big 12 does Oklahoma no justice by having so many good offenses, but it also is very unfortunate that Oklahoma has such a terrible defense. They gave up 40 to Kansas, 45 or 46 to Oklahoma State, 50-something to West Virginia. It's been bad, and it's not getting better. And I actually do think it's going to get worse. I think Dwayne Haskins is a better quarterback than Will Grier, and I wouldn't mind if Oklahoma and Ohio State don't make the playoff if that was a Rose Bowl, because that'd be a really fun game to go to. They could outscore anybody, though, I guess. Didn't watch the Clemson-South Carolina game. Heard it was a fun one. Clemson, ever since they put Trevor Lawrence in, like I said, has been a very dominant football team. Travis Etienne's been great, and he's taken a lot of pressure off Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence can make every throw. He's one of the top quarterback recruits in the country and in the last decade, according to Scout and 24/7 Sports. Pitt doesn't have a player like that. Pitt's weakness is Clemson's strength, and Clemson's defensive weakness, Pitt is not going to be able to exploit by passing the ball. A team like Oklahoma could beat Clemson. A team like Ohio State could beat Clemson this year because their secondary is not very good. But Pitt is not offensively inclined like that. Could they come up with some creative ways to beat them? Yeah, absolutely. Pat Narduzzi's a very creative guy. I'll tell you that. He's a good head football coach. He's a good offensive mind. And he's good for an upset. He beat Deshaun Watson's team. So we'll see how that goes. I'm going to pick Clemson to win that game for sure, though. Alrighty. So, what's next? Alabama versus Georgia. I already gave you my prediction for that one. I think Alabama's going to win this game. It's probably going to be close, like a 30 first half close, all that good stuff, Fast 5 here. Georgia just doesn't have the firepower to match them. Losing Michelle and Chubb, big difference. Having the young running backs makes it a little tougher, as talented as they are, with Holyfield and Swift. Both very good, but both not ready to carry the load Chubb and Michelle did. And that load's going to be needed to beat Bama, and I don't think they'll be able to do it. I don't think they'll be up to the task. Go Dogs, though. Go Tide if Ohio State needs Alabama to win to make it. Oklahoma, Texas. Now, Texas did win the first game in the Red River rivalry by 3. That's a tough word, tongue twister. Say that 5 times fast. I dare you. Red River rivalry. It's also, both games are, I don't know where the Big 12 Championship's being played. I do know that the Red River rivalry is at a neutral site. Kinda. It's at AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas. So, yeah, technically a neutral site, and they do a good job of making those 2 games pretty fairly distributed amongst the fans. When Texas is the home team, they do get a little bit more fans than Oklahoma there, and when Oklahoma is the home team, I'd say it's pretty even to course, but Texas, I think, is the home team because they beat Bama in the regular season, or Oklahoma in the regular season. Tom Herman's had Oklahoma's number. He's one of the only coaches that does. He slows down their offense. I think if Ellinger's healthy, they can do the same strategy and play. Texas' defense has been pretty rough since that game, and it's been pretty beat up. But this is the only game I don't think I'm confident in picking. I think Oklahoma wins it. I don't think Oklahoma wins it convincingly. I think it's going to come down to some final plays. Mostly because Oklahoma's defense can't stop anyone, so Texas will be in the game for most of it. If Oklahoma blows them out and Alabama beats Georgia, I'm pretty sure Oklahoma locks itself into the college football playoff because they don't have a 29-point loss to an unranked team. But I'm going to pick Oklahoma here. I think I went 3 for 4 on my game picks last week, which is solid. It could have been better, but, at the end of the day, 3 out of 4 is solid. And if I picked every single college football game on the year, I'd probably get 75% of them right. That doesn't mean I'd win bets, though. Betting and picking games is a lot different. Yep. So I'm going to take a quick break. I'm going to grab me a Pepsi Cola, better than Coke. Change my mind. And I will be back to talk about the NFL. Oh, wait, I didn't make my Ohio State-Northwestern pick. Ohio State beats Northwestern by 50. Or 40. They play pretty good defense. All right. Being honest here, being 100% realistic. Northwestern's going to score 20 points. And if they score 20 points, Ohio State's scoring 50 points. If they score under 20, Ohio State will score in the 40s. That's how it'll go. I'll be back in a second. Got to grab me a Pepsi Cola and drink it so my throat is less dry. I will not be doing a ad plug this week. Didn't write one down. Shout out to Freight Saver for all your shipping needs. Go to freightsaver.com. Get a quote today. Pepsi for rehydrating the show host. I think you got to be grateful for that one. the caffeine and sugar, giving my energy back. Gotta be excited about that. Yeah, well, anyways, follow us on Twitter at mbasementprod. Follow me on Twitter at Chris_Renne. Instagram, ChrisRenne5. And also for mbasementprod, all things the Chris Renne Show and Pints at the Round Table. I will be creating a website over winter break. It'll be my big thing I do. It'll be probably released on New Year's Day. I'm hoping for a New Year's Day release on it. It's going to be fun. It'll just be a place where you can go. You can get all the podcasts. You can do all that. It'll be, I think it's mbasementprod.net. I couldn't get .com, but whatever. We'll work on it. I'm excited for it. I'll be writing blog posts as well as the podcast and stuff. I'll try to do a blog post today, depending on what it's on. It might be movies. It might be shows. It might be sports. You don't know. I'll never know. Maybe I'll write two sometimes. I want to start an anonymous mailbag or a mail bag sort of thing, a fan topic thing that allows me to interact with people. So be looking out for that. But we've got the ball rolling. We've been pretty consistent this semester. We've done 2 shows a week. It's been a lot of fun. Our social media game's getting stronger. Still debating on if I want to use my personal account as a complete show host account. I think it's a little weird, and I got a lot of friends that are followers. But we'll see. It's just different. It's just stuff I got to work out, some kinks I got to get through. And eventually, we're going to get rolling. And I think in another year, we'll probably start establishing ourselves and outwardly trying to expand. Eventually, I'm going to start putting out some ad boosts on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and stuff to try to draw attention to the page. But I wanted everything to be perfect before I started doing that. And now that we're starting to get consistency and routine, I think it'll be a big step forward with the show and Mom's Basement Productions. So I'm excited for the future, actually. I really am. NFL is my next topic. This will be the one I'm doing. I'm going to go check Facebook real quick to see if there's a fan topic. I won't hit on it for long because I really do got to start getting going today. Comments. Alrighty, so let's look at these replies. So we'll talk about that. It's kind of a funny topic. So the NFL, what I saw this weekend, I'm going to go through NFL stuff pretty quickly. The NFL's been pretty consistent. Since I went to the game, I'll talk about it. The Browns were electric in the first half, but you could see the youthful complacency in the second half. The Bengals never really had a chance to get back into the game, but that doesn't mean Ohio State had to. The Browns had to slow down. Freddie Kitchen got a little conservative with the play calling, which hasn't been his MO. I thought the Browns probably should have won that game 42 or 49 to maybe 14 or 21. But 35-21 is a really good win, especially against your rival on the road, and the Browns are looking up. Now there was some drama. Baker Mayfield didn't shake his hand. Baker Mayfield shook his hand. He didn't hug Hugh Jackson, all this stuff, whatever. Demarius Randall got an interception and handed the ball to Hugh, and it was pretty funny. That was actually probably my favorite play of the game. So I will talk about it from both sides. Now, I understand Baker Mayfield's great, but I want to hit on Hugh Jackson first, because Hugh Jackson's is easier to explain. Now, Hugh Jackson was the Browns coach. He won 3 games, lost 36, and tied one. 3-36-1, I think his record was. The Browns were 2-6-1 this year. They weren't getting better. The Browns are 2-5-1, not getting better, and they got blown out by the Chiefs. All right. In the first Greg Williams thing. But you could see the team played harder. You could see it. You really could. Which the Chiefs are just on another level this year. Well, Hugh Jackson was fired, as we all know, and now Greg Williams is the interim head man, and Freddie Kitchens is the offensive coordinator. And if you followed me on Twitter, you'd know that I have an infatuation with Freddie Kitchens' play calling and play design. It's beautiful. It's a work of art. Greg Williams is a mad scientist. His defenses always play hard. He's a Super Bowl winning defense coordinator. He gets his boys going. Well, Huey. He got fired. And like any person in a free market economy, any person who loves doing what they do, any person who wants to work again, they have the right to do it. Now, Hugh Jackson's best friend in the NFL is Marvin Lewis, the head coach for the Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals play the Browns one more time now. They played them 2 more times when Hugh Jackson took the job, but I don't even think that would have mattered to Hugh. I don't think Hugh Jackson took the job because there was 2 games left against the Browns. I don't think he cared about that. I actually feel like he wouldn't want that. Because if the Browns beat a team he's on, they beat you, It's just social suicide. It's like wearing pink on a Wednesday or a Tuesday, because on Wednesdays we wear pink. That's what I meant to say. Hugh Jackson, good offense coordinator. Not the worst. Pretty decent when he was in Cincinnati at that job. Marvin Lewis, good defensive coach. Special assistant to the head coach, Hugh Jackson. The Dwight Schrute poster was hilarious with Hugh Jackson's face photoshopped onto it. Unbelievable. But Hugh Jackson, as an able working man, has the right to take another job. And of all the people who offered him mid-season to take another job, his best friend, Marvin Lewis, offered him a job. So he took it. He said, I'm going to help my friend out for the rest of the year. We're going to work together again. It's going to be cool. Well, Marvin Lewis is going to get fired too. So it's all going to work out in the end. But here we go. Hugh Jackson didn't do anything wrong. It's a business. The NFL is a business. It's cutthroat. You get fired, you take the next job you can get if you want to be in the NFL. You don't know how many more opportunities you're going to get in the NFL, and he got another opportunity. It's fine. He took the job. And as a Browns player, switching over to the other side now, you can have the right to be mad. It's disrespectful. A lot of the players feel like Hugh threw him under the bus. I don't really think he threw him under the bus. I just think he knew that that the Browns the Browns didn't achieve the expectations he set out for them, and it was his fault, and some of the players didn't play up to expectations either. It doesn't help when you have an offensive coordinator going for your head throughout the season and creating instability in the locker room. Who would have thought Greg Williams, the mad scientist, would be the most level-headed guy? I wouldn't. Promoting Freddie Kitchen, everybody thought it was a bold move, but it worked out. It's working out really well. And Freddie Kitchen was a QB coach and working really well with Baker Mayfield. So it all made sense. Baker Mayfield didn't want to talk about Hugh. I get it. The way he handled the interview, a little immature. You want to know how you say it? You want to know what you say? No comment. Oh, I'm just focusing on next week. Game's over. It was a good win. I'm ready to focus on next week. I'm not going to talk about what happened on the field with Hugh Jackson. That's a great answer. That's what a quarterback should do. That's not what Baker Mayfield did, though. The biggest gripe with Baker Mayfield when he was coming into the league was his immaturity. He had a police video. He was caught on camera trying to elude being arrested by the police. He got tackled. He planted the flag on the Ohio State 50-yard line, gave bulletin board material. He grabbed his junk against Kansas. And for most of his life, his swaggers backed up his attitude with that. But the NFL's a different animal. You don't see Jared Goff doing that. You don't see Tom Brady making comments like that. You want to know who you do see? Aaron Rodgers. And you want to see what's going on with the Packers? It's not looking pretty. I get having a gripe with Hugh Jackson, but that type of stuff as a quarterback has to stay in-house. What Demarius Randall did is different. He's a defensive back. The whole team doesn't rely on him. The whole team's not on his shoulders. It was a weird situation. It was a funny situation. I was extremely happy about it. It was a good win. I feel bad for the kid who was in front of me. But he didn't give up on his team, and I'm proud of him for that. And as a Bengals fan, that's all you really can do. Especially when they finish last in the division this year. It's going to be beautiful. So, another game happened this week. The Patriots played the Jets. Now the Jets aren't anything special. But the Patriots go into New York. Tom Brady goes 20 for 31 with 283 yards and 2 touchdowns. Sonny Michel comes back healthy after the bye week. 21 carries, 133 yards, and a touchdown. Julian Edelman, 4 catches, 84 yards, a touchdown. Rob Gronkowski, 3 catches, 56 yards, a touchdown. Josh Gordon, 5 catches, 70 yards. Sonny Michel, 2 catches, 12 yards. Philip Dorsett, James White. The defense bent, didn't break. And all in all, it was a well-played football game once again by the Patriots against a division opponent. Now you look at the Patriots, you look at the standings. You see 8-3, you see the Chiefs at 9-2. You see the Chargers at 8-3. You see the Steelers at 7-3-1. Well, everyone before the season was telling me this is it for the Patriots. Everyone after they started 1-2 was telling me this was it for the Patriots. Well, I'll tell you one thing. And I keep seeing some of my favorite radio hosts saying this, and this was my first thought when I saw how the Patriots beat the Jets this weekend. 8-3. Nice. Took a bye week, reset, and they beat you with 1,000 cuts. It's methodical. It's been how they've won since 2001. It hasn't stopped. It hasn't changed. Receivers come and receivers go. The two constants in this are Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. With strong leadership on defense and a very good defensive game plan, they hold teams. They make teams beat them using their weakness, not their strength. They don't allow their strengths to take over. If they need to score 40, they can do it. Tom Brady on his radio show this week said, there's this, I think, when we don't turn the ball over, this is in quotation, so I'm talking as he said it. I think when we don't turn the ball over, we win, I want to say 95% of the time, which is true. They are 125-15 when that happens. That's absurd. And guess what? The Patriots are 8-3. And their remaining schedule after this Vikings game, in Foxborough, the Vikings go, and then they play Miami. So the Patriots are undefeated at home. That's going to stay that way. The Patriots are going to beat the Vikings. The Patriots are going to go into Miami and win that game. And then to possibly decide the number 1 seed in the playoffs, the Patriots are going to go into Pittsburgh and beat them. And then they end the season with the Bills and Jets at home. The likelihood of them going 5-0 and going 13-3 is very high. The only game I think they have a real possibility of losing is that Steelers game, and I don't think they will. I think Tom Brady has the Steelers number once the weather gets cold. I think the Steelers have a little too much dysfunction, and I think that's going to lead to a detrimental game by them, and you can see what happens when the Steelers play a great game plan. So, yeah, I think the Patriots are going to win out, go 13-3. I'm going to check out the Chiefs' schedule just because I'm super intrigued now to see how they're ending the season. So, the Chiefs are good, man. So, the Chiefs play the Raiders, the Ravens, the Chargers, the Seahawks, and the Chiefs. That Seahawks game in Seattle, they could lose it. That Chargers game, they're probably not going to lose. It's at home. Going into Oakland this weekend, rivalry game, you never know. The Raiders need that game. The Raiders' season's a throwaway. But if they win that game against the Chiefs, they could get some momentum going into next year. 5 games left to go. You couldn't ask for a better NFL season. Ooh, it's going to be great. It's going to be great. Moving on to my next topic. Boom, banga, bango. The Patriots are still my Super Bowl pick. Oh, shoot, I gave you a spoiler. Dang it. Oh, I'm such an idiot. All right, well, I'm not cutting or editing. I don't have time today. So, you got one of them, all right? That's going to be my topic after I give my top 5, which is next. There's a lot of trouble in Green Bay. It's all on Aaron Rodgers' shoulders. He's very passive-aggressive and it's rubbing off wrong. And when you're in a young locker room and your leader is being that way, it's not good. It's not Mike McCarthy's fault. Mike McCarthy's tried to change the offense. Aaron Rodgers is uncomfortable with it. Aaron Rodgers is uncomfortable with a modern offense. Aaron Rodgers doesn't want to change, and Aaron Rodgers wants everyone else to be the problem. Aaron Rodgers is reminding me very much of a quarterback I talked about at the beginning of this show, Shea Patterson. I don't see Pat Mahomes doing that type of stuff, and he's a rookie or a second-year player. I don't see Mitch Trubisky doing that stuff on the Bears. He's throwing picks. He's making mistakes. His teammates make mistakes. I don't see him harping on them. I don't see him being all mad about it. I don't see him with family issues. Mike McCarthy's a good coach. Mike McCarthy's not the worst coach. But when you have a quarterback unwilling to change and that, I mean, guess what? You have a run game now. Aaron Jones has been good. Devontae Adams is a top 10 receiver in the league. Randall Cobb's been a top 5 slot receiver his whole career. It's not a talent problem. Geronimo Allison's a good receiver. The defense is solid. The defense isn't losing these games. It's a quarterback who's used to playing hero ball, and he doesn't need to right now. He just needs to play quarterback, and he's not doing it. And I've been on Aaron Rodgers' side most of his career, but I really do think it's time for him to look into the mirror. He just got beat by Kirk Cousins in primetime, and Kirk Cousins can't win in primetime. Aaron Rodgers is supposed to be primetime. I think Green Bay's in trouble. Last one, I've hit it on quick. Texans are good, but I have Andrew Luck over Deshaun Watson throughout the rest of the season. I think Luck's playing insanely good football. Deshaun's playing good, but Andrew Luck is on another level. The Texans have a better defense, but their offense doesn't have the weapons. Now that since Will Fuller's injury, they haven't had that guy who can take the top off the defense. But, man, Deshaun's looking good, and the Texans should be excited. But I got Andrew Luck. I like Andrew Luck a lot. I've seen 2 or 3 Colts games the last couple weeks. I will be in Andrew Luck Stadium this Saturday, and it's going to be a lot of fun watching this AFC South because Titans, decent. Texans, good. Andrew Luck, good. All 3 of them still in the hunt for that division title. Every other division title in the AFC, the AFC West's not figured out, but I think it'll probably end the way it's going to end. The NFC's a little bit more predictable. Not really anymore, actually. It's all you got. So a couple of weeks ago, I had all the divisions picked. I don't really have that anymore. I think I still got the Vikings over the Bears winning that division. NFC South, the Saints obviously are going to win that division. It's not even close anymore. The Panthers are reeling. The NFC West, the Rams, the NFC East, the Cowboys just because, I don't know, Carson Wentz looked good, but I still got the Cowboys because the way Zeke's playing, and if they play their style of football, I think it's more consistent than what the Eagles have done this year, and they've proven to people that they can be a little bit more consistent than the Eagles. Whew, God. All right, keeping it rolling. I think the Colts will win the AFC South. That's what I was getting at there. My top 5 NFL teams after this week, starting at number 5, the Patriots, 8-3. Definitely still, I'd say the team to beat in the NFL until you prove me wrong. They're not my pick to win the Super Bowl, but I do think they're going to represent the AFC there. I think the other teams in the AFC have just a couple of problems to deal with, and the Patriots are the best at fixing their own problems, while the other teams haven't really figured out how to do that like the Patriots. So they're number 5, just because of talent, not because of where they're going to end up. My number 4 team's the Chargers. They had a rough game against Denver the week before. Phillip Rivers played his worst game of the season and then comes back and completes 25 of 25 passes to start the game. Ended up 28 for 29 and was near perfect. It was absurd. It was a lot of fun. The Chargers were really good this weekend and proved to me why I always have them in my top 5. Next on the list, the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs' offense is great. Their defense is susceptible to being exploited like the Steelers have done, like the Patriots have done, like the Rams have done. And I don't think Mahomes is ready for those big moments yet. So they come into number 3. I do think they'll win the AFC and have the best record in it. I think 13-3, but 13-3, the tiebreaker goes to New England, and that means New England would be the number 1 seed. I still rank them higher in my power rankings right now because they technically do still hold the home field advantage over the Patriots. The Rams are my second team in the NFL right now. Their offense is unbelievable. Their defense is not looking pretty, but it's not the worst. Once they get Aqib Talib back, if Marcus Peters can start playing corner like he used to, and some other things happen, he got paid way too much money to be performing like he is. He's getting beat like a drum. It's bad. It's not good. Gave him the big pick against the Chiefs, but he also gave up like 6 touchdowns against the Chiefs, it felt like. Then my number 1 team, the Saints, watching them on Thanksgiving, just reinstilled my faith in them. They're such a good team. Drew Brees is playing out of his mind. He's completing 76% of his passes in the NFL. It's absolutely absurd. Michael Thomas is playing at like the best receiver in the league. You got Thunder, you got Lightning, and they're both pretty much Lightning, and they're both pretty much Thunder. In Alvin Kamara and Mark Ingram. Depending on who you ask, either one of them could probably start on any other team in the NFL, minus maybe 3. It's a very unselfish roster. They had 4 undrafted free agents score touchdowns, so it just shows how good their offense is right now and how well it's clicking from a play calling standpoint, from a planning standpoint, from all that standpoint, and from a Drew Brees standpoint. He's been on the money all year. The defense is great. Adding Eli Apple as the second corner has been huge. Von Pell's has replaced Kurt Coleman as this free safety, and they've moved number 43. I can never remember his name. It hurts, but they moved him to the strong safety role, and you got 3 Buckeyes in that secondary. Linebackers have been playing awesome. Their front 7 with Cameron Jordan has absolutely molested offensive lines, and they're by far the most complete team in football. And when you have a weapon like Taysom Hill just at your disposal. Just shows how deep your roster is. They remind me so much of watching this Alabama team because they're dominating defensively, they're dominating offensively, they're running the ball, they're throwing the ball. It's just absurd. And that's why they're my number one team in the NFL right now. And I think they're a lot of people's number one team in the NFLs right now. 10-1, awesome. They played like 8 years ago, it feels like at this point, but they're my number one team. All right, so my continual Super Bowl pick throughout the year, I haven't changed it since I think week 4 of the season. I got Saints-Pats in the Super Bowl. I think the last one I had before I changed it to this is my final one, and I'm going to keep at it. And I'm going to the reason I do this every week and say it every week is because I continue to get proven right every week that this is going to be extremely possible. My Super Bowl pick to win it all this year, I think, was the Rams at the beginning of the season. I changed that about midway through to the Saints. So there's that, but that's it. I think the Saints will win the Super Bowl. I think they'll play the Pats in the Super Bowl. That's my continual Super Bowl pick. Alrighty. There was a discussion on my fan topic post, episode 28, fan topic. My mom has a friend named Jeff Adams. He's a Michigan fan. My mom said, here's your chance. Maybe he can explain to you why I can't be a Wolverine fan. He replied, he can't. It's irrational not to be. I'll listen to what he has to say, but mathematically it won't up. He's very good at math. Mom, stop lying to your friends. I'm terrible at math. That's not even funny. Stop doing that. I'll clear off some space on my whiteboard to write it out. That's how I feel about people who decide to be Michigan Wolverine fans. What's up, Jessica Powers? I don't know who you are, but you're my people who may know, and you've got very muscular shoulders. I'll clear off some space. Okay, so there it is. So, I have no idea why my mom can't be a Wolverine fan. This country is built on free will and freedom of choice and expression. You have the right to free speech, and you have the right to like whatever team you want. Touching on this quick before I go to my conclusion. Yeah, I mean, when I go home, my mom dates a Michigan Wolverine fan. And since I can't remember when they started dating. It's been a while, though. So, Ohio State's won most of the times. I can't remember if they started dating when Michigan won. That game when goes out, but that feels way too long ago. No, they might have. Yeah, I think they might have been. That'll be some stuff I have to fact check after the show, but yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I've been an Ohio State fan my whole life. My mom was married to my dad, and they got divorced, but she never really liked Ohio State, but she never really hated Ohio State. And I think living with me and my brothers, who were all really diehard Ohio State fans, made her not able to like the other side. So I think she just sits there in the middle, just like, if Ohio State wins, my kids will be happy. If Michigan wins, my boyfriend will be happy. Either way, it's kind of indifferent to me. I think she leans a little more our way. It's probably like 60-40 because now I'm an Ohio State student, and now she really, truly does have a dog in the fight. So I think, I think that's probably a big reason why she can't be a Wolverines fan. Also, 15-1, jumping on that bandwagon now is kind of absurd. When I was born, I think the rivalry was like 36-40, way lower than that. It was like 32-47. I had this college football rivalry book. Oh, let's go check that out, actually. So Google searching, Ohio State, Michigan. We'll go to the Wikipedia page because they do really draw it out pretty well. The first meeting, October 16th, 1897. Guess who won? Guess what? We'll go to game results. Guess who won the first 15 games? Michigan won 13 of the first 15, and they tied 2 of those 15. A lot of those games were blowouts. It's sad to say. But then, 1919 came, and Ohio State got its first couple wins. 3 straight. Then Michigan, well, they started dominating it. But that's besides the point. Then Ohio State kept winning, then Ohio State kept winning, and then Ohio State kept winning. And then tie, and then Michigan, tie. Ohio State, Michigan, tie. Michigan, Ohio State, Michigan, Ohio State, Michigan, Ohio State. And so what the rivalry started looking like, the 60s were awesome. That must have been a time to be alive for those two teams. Oh, boy. The 70s, the part of the 10-year war, awesome time. But now let's get to where I was born, 1996. Ohio State could have played for the national title that year, the year I was born. They lost to that school up north, 20-14. Ruined everything. Sorry, John Cooper. But so 1996. That was 22 games ago. Michigan's won 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of those 22. So when I was born, they had 52 wins. And Ohio State had 34. So it was an 18-game gap. And in my lifetime, it's been cut down to 8. And it should have been cut down to 9 because Ohio State beat them. But it didn't count. So, in my lifetime and the majority of my dad's lifetime, Ohio State's been dominating. So, I mean, it's a family thing. It's fun. It's always fun. But all in all, it's just been kind of something we do. It's awesome. It's always fun to have a house divided, and I think my mom just likes to play the middle. But yeah, at the end of the day, I'll go into conclusions. I got tests this week. Gonna suck. But this Saturday, I get to go to the Big Ten Championship game and forget about all those problems. Can't wait to go to Indianapolis. Went last year. It was an insanely fun time. Lucas Oil Stadium's unbelievable. Indianapolis, where the stadium is not the greatest, but you're going there for the game, not the environment around it. We tailgated with Angry Orchards last year. I was not 21 yet, so I couldn't buy any, and the line was excessively long. And this year, we're probably going to take it a lot more serious. We'll probably go down a little earlier once again. Get crunk, go into the game, head home. It'll be all good. All in all, it's a good time. I will see you guys next week, same time, same day. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and like us on Facebook. Rate and review the show. Rate it good, but in your review, tell me what I can and can't do better. And if there's anything you want me to talk about, if there's any stuff you want me to add to the show, just let me know, and I'll think about putting it in. I said follow on Twitter at Chris_Renne, at mbasementprod. Like us on Facebook, Mom's Basement Prod, period. And follow us on Instagram, mbasementprod and ChrisRenne5. This is your host once again, and I am out of here.